Hey, Bill.
Yes, sir, Michael.
So yeah, how things been going lately?
Very good.
Good.
It's a gorgeous day today. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. If it wasn't only 49 degrees, it would be perfect.
You know what? I didn't even realize that it was that cool. It just seemed just because the sun is out.
And the sky is blue. It's not overkill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. It's real nice. So what have been some new things that you've been working on lately?
Well, you know me. I'm always trying to find new ways of doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I've recently read that I found fascinating, and I've really been working with a lot of my clients, is the value of being happy.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that they're going to work like hell, make a lot of money, and then they'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And new research says that if you get happy and then you work, you'll have money a lot faster. But you do it just the opposite.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. You look at our society as a whole, and we've got, like, if you go over in Europe, you work to live, and here you live to work, I think is what I've heard someone quoted before. And,
right.
They just have a different approach. They've got a lot more vacation time. There's less stress. There's a lot more walkable communities, a little bit, better health. Even though that you say the health is a little bit better, they don't necessarily dietarily practice a healthier life. There's a lot more smokers. They do, drinking has a different kind of stigma to it, drinking alcohol. So it's kind of interesting, the society that we've created. And I think, like you said, I think especially in something that's it's very pressure driven, when a lot of people would assume when you talk about being a sales professional, right? Wouldn't you say so?
Well, yeah. The way salespeople are managed, they are put under pressure constantly.
Right. It's always hit this deadline, hit this goal.
Right. It's close. There's really no time to create a relationship. Most relationships are built on bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's make customers think you care.
Yeah. It's kind of for show. So I don't know.
Yes.
What do you think? What's like the solution to avoid that?
Well, I've been screaming it forever, and that's about actually be authentic with people.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than fake it till you make it, you're going to have some failures. So you're going to fail until you make it. But you will never. You don't show up in people's eyes as a fake.
Mm-hmm.
And you know when you're talking to a salesperson, you can tell one who is being authentic and one who is trying to be something he's not.
Right. We've had so many conversations, you and I, about just not listening more, and I think that's one of the things is that motor for that salesperson. I can almost picture them. They've got the slick back hair and a tweed jacket, and they just don't shut up, and you just feel like you can't get a word in edgewise, and I don't know how you can ever really accommodate anybody's needs if you're just constantly talking at them. And I think there's a difference between talking with someone and talking at someone.
Right. There's a difference between a sales pitch and a conversation.
Right. No, it's exactly right. And I don't think a lot of people understand the difference because they haven't really taken the time to think about it. And do you think it's because of management that, like, they're constantly being pressured, so therefore they don't ever take a beat and think about the difference between those things?
Well, Mike, the sales skills that people use today were the skills that were developed in the 20s and in the 30s, maybe in the 40s, where it was always about beating your customer into submission. It was sales and negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
Today's customer needs very little education because most of the time they've gone out and researched on the internet. They've researched what they want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And all that they really are looking for is a little bit of help with their final purchase. And that's about a discussion rather than selling them. Everybody tries to avoid salespeople. That's the reason everybody goes out and looks at the internet. If they can possibly avoid a salesperson, they'll take their whole transaction to the internet. Now, they may buy the wrong part. They may buy the wrong thing. But we're living in it's easy to make those mistakes, and people will take back your mistakes and trade you for the right part. But a part is one thing. Making a big purchase is different. You need somebody you can trust and who you feel is being authentic.
And and I think change is part of it too. Is I think a lot of people are reluctant to open up to something new and different. So I think you still have a certain amount of people that prefer that in-person conversation over buying something online, and I think a lot goes into that. I mean, you can look at there's the issue of people are worried about their identity being stolen. They're worried about, like you said, is just buying the wrong part. So there's a balance. So as you've been doing, moving forward in your career, what kind of a shift have you noticed with that, mentality of, well, yeah, I'd rather not be hassled, but at the same time, I don't want to make the wrong decision because I'm not educated. And I mean, I've bought things online that one time, Talia, my wife, and she thought she was buying a garbage can for our recycling business, and she actually ended up only buying the lid with a little hole in it that said "recycle, please." What a great deal. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you don't, so do you? What do you notice? Is like this trend is starting to shift over the last, I don't know, I'd say 10 years. Probably things have changed dramatically.
Yes, but see, I think you're saying that people don't want to buy online, and I say that people are getting more and more comfortable with buying online. If you're a salesperson that can actually engage with people, have a conversation with people, I think they will come to you first. Mm-hmm. But those are bigger items. I'm talking about, well, even in my business, it's sales training. In your business, they're buying, in your business, they're buying you. Once they get to see you and work with you, they buy you. They have faith in what you're going to help them with. So, and yours is a bigger purchase. Mine is a bigger purchase. So we're not as apt to be. Internet is not the competition for us, but people still have gone to the internet and searched on the internet to find somebody that they might be comfortable with. I mean, you're an expert at getting people business from the internet, but you do that by bringing people to somebody's website. You help me because people come and they get to see me. They get to see my clients talking about me before they ever meet me. So they have some comfort level before they ever reach out to me. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, is to have that strong presence, because I think there is a lot of due diligence that's being done prior to picking up a phone. But like you said, I think some of the other areas we're probably going to see a shift still, where we're going to see more automobiles bought online. Whereas, I think people are going to start that generation that's still reluctant, like my mother, baby boomer. She loathes Facebook, wants no one to know her business. Why would anybody put this kind of information out there? When she got her first iPhone, because she wanted to be able to take pictures of the grandkids out of state. I laughed like hysterically when I was trying to help her out with the purchase of that phone, because they're on my cell phone plan, and they said to me, for $2 a month, do you want to add the expert assistance, or I don't know what they called it. something along those lines. And I just laughed so hard. I said, do you think there's there's no chance she's calling anyone other than me for help with this thing? And that's why I'm getting her iPhone, because I have one too.
Oh yes.
So I think, and I think that there is a certain, part of the population that does a little bit of surface grazing when it comes to educating themselves about their product. And then I think, like you said, the big ticket items are different than a widget.
Right.
And I think that if you're in the right place at the right time online, you can provide that expert experience for them so they can educate themselves, and then they come to you with a certain level of a relationship. But then it turns into, all right, now is your presence real? Because I think there's so many people that are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth, that they put forward only their best attributes. And
right.
Then you know what I mean, and like, so it becomes almost a facade, a fake persona of who you are. And I don't know. I mean, you can tell me. You need to be pretty transparent online so that when somebody actually comes to you or calls you, they're getting the same person that they feel as if they met online, right?
I would, yes. Now, I would say that that's accurate. But you know that there are plenty of people that are in your business that teach the same P.T. Barnum kind of stuff. They are phony. So the difference between what you see and what you get is always going to be there. You're still going to be operating some out of intuition. You're going to talk to someone. You're going to say, no, that's not the person. That's not the real person. That's the person I thought he was when I actually spoke to him on the phone. He wasn't that person. There's for I don't know how many years that kind of stuff will go on, but I know you and I did business because I saw the first video that you did, and you were so authentic. You were the guy that I wanted to work with. I'd been kicking it around for a long time, but you showed up as an authentic person, and maybe what you showed up as you showed up similar to me. So I figured if that's it. You reminded me of myself, except I'm a lot older than you are. But,
I take that as a compliment. I appreciate that, Bill.
You were. Go ahead.
No, I didn't. I have no idea what I was going to say next. So finish.
No, it's just that your authenticity showed up, and I knew I wanted to do business with you. So there are people whose inauthenticity shows up. And so even though they're doing all the things that they're supposed to do to create a relationship before you meet somebody, you won't do business with them because you can see through their video. You can see through the conversation that they're presenting on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. So for me, it's still about being authentic.
Yeah, and that's why I stray from. A lot of times we'll set up a video shoot. I'll be talking with, the director of marketing or the CEO or whatever, whoever it is, and I send questions over that I'm gonna touch upon when we're going to sit down and learn more about their business and put it on film or tape or now a chip.
Right.
Right. So we. And I don't always get to prep everyone. And there's been a number of times where people come in and they've got this book of notes, essentially, and they are all ready to come across as a robot. And I do everything out of my power to make them put that under their chair and just talk.
Yes.
Because it's just those real conversations that are so important in establishing healthy relationships. And I think if they're constructed that way and it's put online, like we were saying before, you get this virtual relationship before you even make a decision. But before we were doing all of this, because, I have been basically in marketing since I graduated, I think the same year from college, the same year that YouTube was created.
Yeah.
What would be some of the other ways to be able to get across an authentic representation of yourself without, some of the tools that we have today prior to actually meeting that person?
before there was this YouTube, and then before there was the video stuff, how you did that was you banged on doors, you went out, you set up appointments, and you met people.
Yeah. But now there's another layer.
Excuse me?
Now there's another layer now.
Well, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But
does it make it harder or easier?
Oh, I think it's more complicated, but you can be exposed to a lot more people, and you can refine what you're doing so that the people who are calling you are people who, I'm going to use the term because, they fall in love with you, seeing your videos and seeing how authentic you are. They know you before they actually have gotten to know you. So when people, when you can be in front of people and create that relationship before you've ever had an appointment with them, the job becomes much easier. Now it takes a lot more planning. You already know that. You know how I hate being that planned. I want to be jumping around. I want to get stuff done immediately. For me, it's really difficult to sit down and do it. But I know that it's got to be done in this day and age.
Well, yeah, it kind of goes right back where we were talking about before, is like a difference of lifestyle. It almost seems like society has become a lot more methodical. Whereas you need to plan things out. Everybody has their calendar in their pocket, on their phone. Their emails are on their phone. And if you don't have like a pretty good game plan, it's real easy for life to kind of get away from you. And like I said, that's where we kind of started things here, is that there's a lot of pressure out there to make sure you get a certain amount of things done within a set period of time. Whereas I don't, obviously I don't know anything different than that. I remember when I was in college, I never wrote anything down as far as calendar wise. And I kept very good grades. I was, I think I graduated with like a 3.85 or something like that GPA, and got my work done, got my my everything. But now, once I started my business, there's not a chance I'd be able to pull something like that off without having a calendar.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah. I mean, it's really so. What I guess I'm getting at is, what kind of advice do you give to somebody who's in any position? Because I think what you do doesn't necessarily only apply to the sales professional. I think it applies to just professionals in general that are have a set goal and are trying to accomplish some whatever it is. What kind of things would you say would be helpful and healthy to kind of get through the week without driving yourself crazy?
Okay. So the first thing, can you hear the intensity with which you just said to me, so you can get through the week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just shows the amount of strain that people put themselves under. Mm-hmm. So how about, it's not about getting through the week, it's about having a great week, which means you got to have some balance in your life. Mm-hmm. And it's so for me, it's become about me running my life rather than my business running my life. For you, Natalia, you can allow how everybody else is to run your life, or you actually do have the ability to decide how you're going to run your life. But that'll require you breaking away and doing some non-traditional stuff. So when I'm working with small business owners, who most small business owners run their businesses in the first place, they run them like hobbies. They don't really run them as a business. So I ask them to consider, what if first thing I want to do is, rather than telling them anything, I want to find out what they want out of their business. And most small businessmen are not looking for major money out of their business. They're looking for enough money so that they can continue to stay in business and have a reasonably good lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So, but I ask them, so what if you actually started to run your business like a business and not run it like a hobby, and then you ran it like a business 3 weeks out of every month, and then you started to hire some people around you to so that you could run it really. You could be the manager and the guy who ran it for 3 weeks, and then you took a week off, and you actually started to empower people to operate the business for 1 week while you're gone. And if you started to do that, now you don't. Now the business still doesn't own you. You can start to have your business. I mean, I think you've certainly done that in the early stages of your business. You actually had your team running your business.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because I think the type of personality that goes and puts themselves out there and says, I'm going to take this risk, holds on to it so tight that they have a hard time delegating. And that was difficult for me. But I'm getting better at it because I know I have to. Because if I don't, like I was saying before, it turns into getting through the week rather than living your life. So I think one of the key components is just basically surrounding yourself with people you've got a lot of faith in, but also have kind of a similar mindset. I think you can teach skills, but you can't necessarily teach mindset.
That's correct. I would agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because as you were talking about it, it's kind of giving me a little bit more reassurance in the path that I'm heading down. And we took on a lot of work lately, and
I know.
The thing is
we've talked about that.
Yeah, and like just bring in some key people, and like Alexis, she actually just started today, and it was an easy hire. Because Jeremy and I, our personalities clicked with her right away.
Right.
And I think that's critical. And so I think there's a lot of that in there too.
So
it's just that
one of the things.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things you just said is so important. There are a whole bunch of people, when they hire an owner, will hire a person and without consulting with the rest of his team.
Mm-hmm.
So you and Jeremy hired that girl. It wasn't you hired her. It was a joint. It clicked, and you both said, yes, let's go. But there's a whole bunch of people that don't do that.
The last two people we hired, same thing. Yeah, because it kind of goes, like, circles right back, is what you were saying is that if you're going to be able to step away, take some time for yourself, but still make sure that, be confident that the business is going in the right direction. If I'm not here, my right-hand man needs to click with the people that are in the office, right? Because I'm all on business calls, and you know how it is. You're running from appointment into appointment, and they're actually physically in the office a lot more than I am.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. And what about more? I'd like to talk a little bit more about your stuff. As far as I know, you have some things online that you've written, and I know once again it's one of those issues where you're trying to get some things down, some content down that's informational, that can help people, but you're also, once again, you're running your own business. I've never written a book. I've never written really much more than a blog, to be honest with you. How was that process for you? Was it challenging? Did you enjoy it? Did you do it out of necessity? You see what I'm getting at?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So for me, it was torture, because
Really?
I'm ADD and I don't have a good system. And because of that, I don't particularly like systems. So I must have written that short little manual. I must have rewritten it 15 times. So it was torture. So what I'm learning to do now, and I think a lot of people could do it with their blogs. I guess a lot of people do it with their blogs. You convert your blog into a book.
Right.
So you are good. You and your team are pretty good with blog material, and you coach your clients using blog. and those kind of things. So that's what I would say. And I actually enjoy doing that. I get an idea. I'm reading a book. I get an idea. I start to write on it. And even though I've got ADD, the other side of ADD is you get super constant, you super focus on stuff. So
right.
it's difficult then. It's difficult to put anything down. But so I will tell you that I completely enjoy doing that. So I think you'll see more stuff coming out as far as I'm concerned with a book or with content. Content I think is going to start to be much easier since I've started this new model of spending maybe an hour and a half a day writing. I do that first thing in the morning, maybe any time after 4 a.m. and up until 8:30 a.m. That's my time for writing. Then I may spend
I've been kind of going through a period too where I end up waking up and I just got things running through my mind. And if I don't get up and do something about them, I can't get back to sleep. So I'll get up and I'll go and send this, that, and the other thing out, an email or get, just write a list. So at least that way I can fall back asleep and feel confident that when I wake up in the morning, I've got, a few things under my belt already. I would tell you to take your notebook to bed with you. Rather than getting up and getting out of bed, you can get some great ideas and fall right back to sleep rather than getting up, getting your brain all running again. Yeah.
And then it's sometimes difficult to fall back to sleep. So that would be my recommendation. When I coach my clients now, I coach them 3 times a month, and I've got it so that I coach the first 3 weeks, the full 3 weeks of every month. So all my clients know exactly when their appointment's going to be. And so for 3 weeks a month, I'm really focused, all clients. And then that extra week that's left over, I get to either do some more research or I'll spend more time out in the field with prospecting or I'll take vacation.
That's good.
So
when you were in here, I know we had pretty much stuck to that. I mean, I strayed a little bit because I had some appointments, but my crew, you came in and worked with them. And one of the people who I was so shocked that took such a shining to it was Colin. And he really enjoyed getting on the phone and just talking to people.
That was amazing because he is not a particularly outgoing guy, but he jumps on that like white on rice.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, a lot of other stuff kind of helped. Like it helped us be a stronger team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was not the fact. Not that I don't appreciate the training that came along with talking about how to communicate better when you're talking to individuals about bringing in new business. I think that was extremely beneficial. But one of the areas that I think everyone had a great takeaway was we got to know how to communicate with each other more effectively. And I think you see that a lot, don't you?
Yes, I do. I know that out of the training I do, that I know that families become better. I know that women that take my training all tell me how much better their marriages get. Men tell me how much better they get along with their kids. But a lot of the illustrations in the coaching I do, it's about communication. It's about collaborating. And if you could learn to collaborate with your kids rather than fight with your kids, it's amazing what starts to happen. Or you collaborate with your wife, and it's just about operating without negotiation.
I remember you were telling me one time, you were saying how, we were kind of wired to not answer questions or not ask questions rather, and then also to give false responses because we're afraid of the outcome.
Right. And none of us have been taught to listen. I mean, Let's Talk Selling is really all about listening, and because you can't be talking and listening at the same time. So if you really think about it, when you were in school, nobody taught you to listen. Your father probably did not teach you to listen. Your father probably said, keep your mouth shut. For me, I know there was a look. My father didn't have to clip anybody in the back of the head, but he would give you a look, and you knew that it was time to stop talking. So most of us were never taught to listen. When we were told to be quiet, our lips stopped moving, but we still were talking. We know now, certainly with myself, I can only talk about what I did. I know that I would continue cursing or swearing or whatever it was at my father or whatever. That wouldn't go on with my mom when she would say it. But there was still you never stopped talking. And if you can actually stop talking and listen, it's amazing what happens. Right now, I know I'm running on, but I want to say that everybody has been taught now they're supposed to be multitasking. And you cannot multitask on a sales call. You have to focus on your customer. You have to listen with both your ears. You've got to listen with your eyes. And then you have to listen, I want to say from your gut. I also want to say from your heart. But so many people get too much confused when you start to say you got to get connected at a heart level. But all the research says that you have a lot more power in listening from your heart than you do from your head. I mean, and there's a ton of research on that. So,
well, yeah, I was going through a difficult transition recently with my business, and I heard a song. It was a country song, and it says, "Chase the dream, don't chase the money," and that sticks with me, because if you're just in it for the money, you're probably doing the wrong thing. But if you're chasing a dream, that's a whole different story. And then the money will follow. Yeah.
Correct. And I can't tell you. I know just so many people are. Everything they do is all their value is based on money.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's important. You need it, because if you don't make any, you run into a problem. But at the same time, I think if you have a bigger picture to it, and have some faith in your capabilities and move in a direction that makes you happy. It doesn't always work that way, I'm sure, but I think it's a good philosophy. Yeah. Well,
you've heard me say this a zillion times, but you'll never outperform your concept of self. So, as sales managers, if they want to have their salespeople producing more, and I really have to work hard to get them to believe this, it's about helping the salesperson have a higher self-esteem, so he's worth more, because he'll only produce at a certain level. Then he'll kick into neutral. He'll only produce the amount of money that he thinks he's worth. If the minute salespeople start to produce more money than they're worth, they'll self-correct for it.
How do you do that?
How do you self-correct, or how do you get people?
No. Yeah. How do you and empower the people who are working for you that are essentially bringing in the income?
I say you make sure that when they're doing things right, you catch them doing stuff right, and you let them know that they've done stuff right, and you help them understand what they could be doing to do things more right, to have more income. There's a ton of business owners, small business owners, that are looking constantly at what their salespeople aren't doing right, and you remind them constantly of what they don't do right. That's a problem with boards, with pitting your salespeople against each other in a company, because then the people at the top won't tell anybody at the bottom what they could be doing to be getting better results. It becomes territorial. So my suggestion is, if you're going to have contests. If you're in the video production business in Buffalo, you find somebody in Philadelphia that's about the same size you are, and then you guys can have contests between two companies and see who can outproduce the other. And when it's all done, now you can start to share each other. You can share your secrets with each other, because it's never going to hurt you to have somebody. but it becomes collaboration. It's different. It's entirely different than pitting your own sales team against one another.
Right. Camaraderie.
Yes, it is. It really is teamwork.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just
interesting.
one of the
That's
things.
pretty cool. I like that.
Well, it's not easy to get it. I'm glad you do like it, and you might want to consider it. But there are a whole bunch of business owners that won't even consider it. They just they will continue to pit their salespeople against one another. You don't grow a company that way. Let me say this: you don't grow a modern company. There's been a ton of sales companies that have been very, very successful doing it that way. I'm suggesting with what's going on with the internet, what's going on with human beings in general, you will get a lot better result building your team from top to bottom, the whole company. Where if everybody in the sales department can support one another, you'll have a lot better results than pitting them against each other.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, because you have, like you said, it's more of like a group effort. Because I guess you'd see that if you as a team are competing against a different team, that's really the way it should be. It shouldn't be a Shark Tank.
Right. Well, and again, Mike, we have to play with the words. It's not about shouldn't. It's about this is what's possible if you want to do it. I mean, I've worked with a couple of home improvement companies, and when you start to teach, when people start to hear themselves and they hear their attitudes leaking out of the corner of their mouth when they're talking to people, you can actually get the salespeople that are around. Maybe you kind of operate where you can hear each other operate. And when a salesperson will get off a phone, somebody else who actually understands the attitude leaking into the conversation, they will signal the other guy and let him know that he's getting upset. So I've watched it. I've watched it happen where sales teams start to support each other to have the whole team become better.
Yeah.
It is very, very possible to have happen, but it's just not taught. It kind of flies in the face of the traditional model of running a sales department.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. Yeah. And I think it's going to be critical to change that paradigm in all industries by everything the way things are trending. Because I don't think the people who are using the old model are going to be able to sustain. I mean, maybe one shark in that tank might thrive, but I think as a whole, I think the company will suffer if people don't start to change the way that they think about this stuff.
Right. Well, I think a lot of companies have suffered. I think a lot of companies have gone out of business because of that. Having the shark model is an old, worn out. I'm not even going to say it's worn out. I want to say it. It's not the smartest way to run your business today.
Fair to say it's antiquated.
You're right. It will continue to be. It'll continue, but I think eventually it will change. But it's going to require another. Some of it's going to require another generation because people are just steeped in it, and they will not look at another way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And people is sometimes old dog, new tricks, whatever you want to say, whatever cliche. Some people just I saw something and I still can't find it. I worked with a guy a while ago who did some business coaching and things like that, and he changed his complete business model because he saw a statistic that said that only 3% of the population are willing to even accept the idea of change. And he said, I'm selling to 3% of the population, even that 3% won't buy in. I got to do something different. So, I mean, I think it is in our, human nature to just kind of continue to do what you've been doing. But I think life has proven that that's typically the worst way of going about things. You need to adapt. You need to learn. What is it? Albert Einstein definition
Yes.
of insanity is doing the same thing over and over without and expecting a different result.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's interesting that somebody would say if only 3% of the people are willing to change, then I'm going to get out of the coaching business or whatever. To me, that's exciting. So that's the reason you're involved in my business now, is because you can help me sort and find that 3% who's actually looking for what I've got.
Right.
So
yeah,
well,
no, that's
exciting
to me. Yeah, no, I can see that mindset, because when I started doing what I'm doing, I went and decided, hey, I'm not going to do TV commercials anymore in 2009.
Right.
And people thought I was crazy. And now here we are, Google Partners, pretty much ahead of the game when it comes to video marketing, in the region. And it was just because, hey, this is what I want to do. I believe in it. And then somebody said, hey, how about you try augmented reality? Can we hire you to do that? And I said, I spent 10 years trying to convince Buffalo that video marketing online was going to be a positive thing. I'm not taking on another one right now. I said, I climbed a real steep cliff already, and I'm going to just continue to stick with this. I'll let someone else go and tackle that. So yeah, I think you have to pick your spots too.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bill, this is awesome. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, they can call me on my phone at 870-0690 with an area code of 716, or they can go to lesstalkselling.com. Take a look at that, and my email address is bill@lesstalkselling.com.